And welcome back, everybody, to Who Would Win. And yeah, so this is a one that's been on the docket for ever. From Corin O'Keefe and maybe someone else. I think I've done either Gaara versus Sandman or Gaara versus Crocodile. But the question is, the three-way fight between the three of them. Who would win? The most dominant Saiyan user here. Now, Kane Marco is obviously Sandman. It was due to an accident that fuses molecular structure with sand. His body is now made of sand. This makes him pretty much impervious to any physical harm you can do. He is capable of absorbing sand into his form to make himself larger, shape-shifting, the whole 9 yards for what a sand manipulator would be able to do. Then you have Crocodile, who ate and I don't know what it's the sand fruit. A Logia fruit, which essentially allows him to turn his body into sand. Now, there is a distinct difference between a Logia user and what Kane Marco does. Kane Marco is literally made of sand, whereas a Logia user like Crocodile can turn their body into sand. If you hit them at the right time, when they're not focusing and they just don't have their fruit activated, you can still injure them. Yes, most Logia users like Crocodile now have an instinct where they can turn their body into sand. It's an instinct. But if you could bypass the instinct and sneak attack them, you can catch them by surprise and hurt them. So that's just should be noted. However, Crocodile Sand pretty much gives them all the abilities of what you would expect, including things like sand burial, all that. But it also allows them to absorb the moisture out of things and dehydrate people to death. He also carries a poison blade in his hook. So that is definitely an ability neither of these guys have. And then there's Gaara, who obviously is the current Kazekage. He used to have Shikaku sealed inside of him, but doesn't have that anymore. Although he probably has some lingering traces of the chakra left that just got added to his reserves. Still, he is obviously, the master sand manipulator of Naruto, capable of doing things like sand burial, sand coffin, massive sand barrier. He is capable of using the environment around him to increase his jutsu as well. He's also capable of using sealing jutsu. Sand Mausoleum and Grand Sand Mausoleum are two very powerful sealing-based jutsu. He's also capable of using magnet release, as well as using his sand automatically comes to his defense. Magnet release helps him to increase the density of the sand, as well as use gold to help weigh down, the Shukaku. Beyond that, he's also pretty skilled in taijutsu. Not that it would matter. In fact, that'd be a suicide move in this fight. Which is not something you would have expected to hear down the road, that Gaara is actually pretty skilled in taijutsu, but he is. And he does have wind release under his belt and earth release because he has magnet release. And that's the general gist. Now, who wins in the fight? Well, weirdly enough, should note, this thumbnail is actually made by a YouTuber, or not YouTuber, online fake death battler called Wattpad. And they actually gave a take on the death battle. Now, their take was Crocodile would win. So what do I think on this? They basically thought Gaara would go down first, then it would be Kane Marco, and that Crocodile would ultimately win. And looking at their reasoning, there's some logic behind that, I think. But first and foremost, in a three-way fight, they definitely would be. Gaara does have one big disadvantage they brought up, and that is his chakra reserve. He's got a lot of chakra. He's got quite a large amount of chakra, but unlike the other two, he can run out of juice. Whereas these two actually can't. I mean, they can tire out in theory, but especially Crocodile, but no, they cannot. Otherwise, they can just continually use their sand, whereas Gaara will run out of energy after a while. But here's the problem I actually find myself winding up with in the fight. And I'll see if I'm going to look again at the points they made real quick about why Gaara won the. Spoilers if you like Wattpad. This is like years and years ago, I believe. But still, okay. All right. So where did they give their fight? Okay. Same for sand control. Gaara cannot control Sandman sand. Crocodile cannot control. Sandman might be able to control Gaara sand, but he can't control What? Okay, this is the part where I got a little confused. Not as fast paced as the last, but still bad. First, Gaara, don't get us wrong. Gaara's very dangerous. However, he has no real way of even touching Crocodile or Salmon. He has no signs of controlling living sand, so it's not that like he can control either. Okay, see, we never seen living sand, except for the fact Shikaku was made of living sand, and he has to keep Shikaku suppressed. Like that is literally what he is made of, is living sand. Second off, the whole controlling living sand argument, I'm like, wait, what? Like, there's no reason to say he can't control living sand. You can't say there's nothing to say he can control living sand, but not also say there's nothing to say he can't do it. You can't do one or the other. Just because there's no evidence of one doesn't mean you can automatically do the other when there's no evidence to the other. In fact, there actually is, at least when it comes to Shikaku, especially at least for what we see in the Shippuden fight with Deidara, he did gain some control over the Shikaku, which is made of living sand, and chakra. So, if anything, there's actually a strong argument he can control living sand that he can't. But, yeah, so that right there was one of the big factors for me on Gaara would actually be a big problem for these two, because they're made of sand. And by all accounts, he can control sand. As long as he gets his sand intermixed with their sand, which would not be difficult at all to do, just, fire some sand bullets at them, get his chakra in there on some level, and then start literally just tearing them apart. Now, the immediate problem with that doesn't come on Sandman's part. In fact, if anything, Sandman, as long as Gaara's chakra kind of overwhelms Sandman, he just kind of binds him, say, like, just in some sort of shape, like a small sand mausoleum, just keeps his form and shape. I think he's sealed. I think he's fine. Crocodile, though, is a little bit more difficult to figure out here. Because, again, he can also rob moisture out of the environment as well. He also has the poison hook. He's also someone who can switch back to human if he needs to. So, I don't think it'd be as easy to control him as it would be to control Sandman. Now, that being said, Gaara isn't going to be just like sweeping this fight. He is going to have to contest with the large amount of sand all these guys are using. And, as Wattpad did correctly point out, Gaara's only got limited so much chakra. It's not limitless. It's not boundless. It's a lot, but it's not, end all be all. That all said, Gaara still has an ace in the hole that the others don't, because while he's a sand user predominantly, he also can use gold dust, which weighs more than sand, is what his dad used to keep the Shikaku in check when it used to rampage. And so, whereas I think Flint, I think it's Kane Marco. I want to say it's Kane Marco. Why am I blanking on his actual name? Sandman. I want to say it's Kane Marco, right? Or am I mixing Juggernaut with Flint? If I'm mixing Juggernaut with Sandman, hold on, Sandman. No, not Sandman. Sandman. I actually want to say it's Flint. Have I getting this wrong the whole time? It's Flint Marco. It is Flint Marco. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I'm sure someone's going to be telling me how I'm an idiot in the comments up until I got it. Hold on. Is that what? Because I believe that's Juggernaut's name. Kane Marco? That's why I was getting them mixed. They have the same last name. Okay. All right. Look, honest mistake. It's an honest mistake. But in the back of my head, every time I was saying Kane, I'm like, it's Flint, isn't it? Yeah, it's Flint Marco. My bad. But the point being, even if Flint goes like full kaiju mode, Crocodile just starts absorbing moisture, and just tries to put Gaara down. Like I said, between the three of them, I actually think Sandman goes down first, because while his abilities are the most basic, and arguably the strongest, he has no real clear-cut way of putting the other two down. Because again, they're both made of sand, and they both have abilities with that sand. And Gaara is also capable of taking flight. I believe, or Crocodile can do that too, if I'm not mistaken. Whereas Sandman, unless he just turns into sand and wisps away, can't. And again, I see Sandman possibly being sealed away first, and then Crocodile and Gaara kind of just duking it out. And then eventually, if we get gold dust mixed into the fray, when he shoots sand into Crocodile to control him, and then shoots gold dust as well to weigh him down, when he does sand mausoleum and Crocodile tries to escape, he'll realize, I can't move, I'm too heavy. Wait, gold? I was like, no. And then just gets sealed away in a gold sand mausoleum. Mind you, this is not a fight to a death, even though this has death battle on it. This is just who wins in the fight. So ultimately, I would go Gaara, personally. He's got the most versatility of the three of them, and he's the only one to actually have specific counters for them. Because, again, there's nothing to say he can't control living sand. In fact, there's actually a couple of arguments. There is one or two instances I can't say instances where it's shown that living sand he can manipulate living sand with his chakra, provided his chakra is in there, which wouldn't be hard in this fight because he can just put chakra into his sand, let them absorb the sand, and there you go. So he's got that, should be able to manipulate their sand, in my opinion. He's also got gold dust on his side to weigh them down so they can't move. And he has a sealing juice that they can use in conjunction with all of that. So in the long haul, I would say, despite the fact he does have the weakness of running out of chakra, Gaara's not got enough chakra to not just immediately run out. So I would go Gaara personally. But this is just my opinion. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.